Hey guys, what's going on? Sincere here with whoissincere.com. Alright, we have a lot to cover today. Welcome to Army After Next Part 3. This is actually going to be, I'm not sure if this is going to be the last one, but I think this may be the last one for this series, and I'll move on to another one. As you see here, I'm in my military uniform. This is old. Of course, I now have a big beard and probably a little bit more weight than that. But, as you see here in my military uniform, I used to be in the Army from 2000 to 2004. I used to serve underneath General Abrams for the TRADOC Command as an information systems analyst, holding a secret clearance. And working also in a top secret environment. I'd like to say this. If you have not seen part 1 or part 2, it's something that you're going to want to do immediately. You're going to want to do it because there's so much that I explained. Each part 1 and part 2 are hour long each. Everything that I explain in those parts it's information that you're going to need. It's things that you're going to want to know. So it'll help you to understand what you're going to learn here in part 3 a little bit, more. We're going to be talking about several different things. We're going to be talking about Army After Next. We're going to, recap that from part 1 and part 2. China, Taiwan. We're going to actually have a part in this video about Trump, TPP, a little place called Brunei, 2025, power purchase parity. We're going to talk about that. And also the Sultan of Brunei. So we're going to talk about that and probably a couple other, topics within there. But this is going to cover a lot. So go ahead and get yourself comfortable. Get yourself something to drink, a little snack, whatever you need. Make sure you get yourself a notepad so you can write down timestamps and little, notes so you can go back over this later on and, run down information for yourself if you like. I'll make sure that I include some links in the description. There'll probably be about 25 to 30 links in the description, or 20 to 30 links in the description for everything that you'll hear here in this video today. So, I've given you my military background. You can find more out about that in parts 1 and 2. Make sure you go over those if you get a chance to. Subscribe to my channel too so that you can get updates. But, go over to Army After Next parts 1 and 2. It's very important. As a matter of fact, let me show you here. Here it is. After Jade Helm 2015, Army After Next 2016 to 2028. Alright, so I thank you guys who got the information out there. It actually has some good plays and a decent amount of love going on there. I believe about 500 and something likes on this one, close to 600. And this one is over a couple hundred likes too. So this is part 3 right here. It'll be sitting right here in this section. You're welcome to look up this playlist, After Jade Helm 2015, Army After Next, and get a little bit of information about it. A couple people have already covered it. One notable being the Pete Santilli show. I actually put that on my website at whoissincere.com. You can go to my website and check that out. They were, since this actually did as well as it did, the information got out there. So the Army After Next document that I released in parts 1 and 2, it definitely took storm. It got the attention of a few people, and a few people have covered it. I would definitely like to get more people to cover it. The Army After Next document, let's go look at that, is this here. Now this is a recap, real quick, few minute recap from parts 1 and 2 for you guys that, don't understand what's going on in part 3 and you don't really have the time to go back and maybe watch parts 1 and 2. I recommend you do, but you can just follow this. This document was done in 1996. I just released it not too long ago. It's been out there on the internet. No one has ever found it or talked about it though. So it's been sitting, in a military-backed site somewhere, and no one's ever bothered to type in this terminology. So no one's ever brought it up. But here you say today's Army, 1996, Future Force 21. And Army after next. Now that's where we are right now, 2016. If you see up here in the corner, 2016, there's 10 references to it. See how fast we can go here. Okay, we go to like one of these references. Build on U.S. supremacy in 2016 and business related to information technology, space and exosphere, civil aviation, transmodal shipment, directed energy, that's directed energy weapons, biopharmacotechnology, and microelectrical mechanical systems, MEMS. Commerce will outpace DoD in capacity rate of change. AAN must follow that lead, help shape outcomes. So, pretty scary terminology all throughout this document. It starts off that way. So you see what the basis of the Army After Next is, and this was planned back in 1996. How to shape the world for the future benefit or outcome for the Army. Now, why that's a normal thing to do, to shape ahead of time, what's not normal is the amount of misdirection that's being given. We don't talk about Israel being friends with China and all of this stuff. So we'll get to that in the next document, but this document here, it shows so many different things that the media just refuses to cover. They refuse to talk about any of these things, and at this point in time, I don't even know why anymore, because people are starting to wake up and see that there's something else that's going on out there. So I'm going to leave a link to this again, parts 1 and 2. You can go over this in great in more detail. There's still, we can do a whole 3-hour documentary just on this alone. So go through it, check it out. Very good document, very, very good document. It talks about the data systems that'll be incorporated onto the soldiers and all kinds of information back in 2016. It talks about drones. It talks about the kind of vehicles that'll be used as far as land combat is concerned. So this is not a document that you just want to pass up. It definitely has many, many levels, many pages. So I'll make sure I leave a link for that below for you guys. It's just a lot of weaponry, stuff like that, a lot of artillery. Unmanned aerial vehicles. Spherical UAV. So there's a lot of things that they want to accomplish for the future, that they've actually accomplished a lot of them already. But this AAN document, again, 1996, detailing what's going on in 2016. Next document. This is the document that I also put out along with that AAN document in parts 1 and 2. This document is pretty much to the point. People's Liberation Army After Next. The PLA is the Chinese Army. This document is the document that gives us what we're looking for. If we type in Israel, we will get 33 mentions of Israel in the People's Liberation Army After Next document. And within these, let's see here. Okay, here you go. Within this document here, it gives who is supplying China, who is exporting to China and supplying them with their offensive and defensive weapons. Israel is listed all through this document, along with Russia and certain parts of Western Europe. So there's definitely an illusion that's going on, and I read an article recently where the American public is we're second in the world for ignorance and understanding of world affairs. We have the biggest, most expensive media outlets, and we're second in the world in ignorance. I forget who number one is. Not sure who number one is. I don't know. Maybe it was Canada or something like that. But I know that we were number two, and that's just still too high on the list for a level of ignorance. I mean, that's sad. So at the end of the day, this is something that not a lot of people know. 99% of people don't even understand that Israel has been funding China for quite some time. But yet we're trying to have, there you go. In addition, Israel reportedly has supplied China with technology related to a jet-powered drone, which could conceivably be adapted to attack. Electronics intelligence. Israel and Russia reportedly have supplied AAN equipment to the People's Liberation Army, which is being incorporated into special missionized aircraft. It goes on and on and on. Medium range surface to air missiles, you name it. It just goes on. It's all throughout the document. So this is a document you definitely want to go ahead and get your hands on too. Is the PLAAN, People's Liberation Army after next. Very good document to have. And then also in parts 1 and 2, back here again, in parts 1 and 2, you will be able to find that. Okay? Alright, what we also talked about in parts 1 and 2 was Taiwan and our relations with Taiwan. Taiwan is in an interesting place in the world. It sits right here, okay? Now, where it sits, this water in the middle is called the Taiwan Strait. This is mainland China right here. Mainland China takes claim of this little island called Taiwan. There's a long history here. I'm not going to go through it all. Now, Taiwan, it's like two different worlds. China has their own form of government. Taiwan has their own form of government. Taiwan favors democracy. So the U.S. over here, across the big pond, the U.S. deals with Taiwan. We have a lot of trade, import-export, and we're in Taiwan's favor. Obviously, China doesn't like it too much, but they let Taiwan kind of have a long leash. But they let Taiwan know, don't get out of line. You still belong to us. Taiwan is revered throughout half the world as being its own independent country. China doesn't see it as such. So, we have, in part 1, we talked about Taiwan, and we talked about how important Taiwan is in that area of the world as far as U.S. negotiations are concerned, as far as military is concerned, as far as import-export is concerned. You name it, Taiwan is a critical piece of land for us. We don't have another piece of land sitting out here in the ocean that's as advantageous as Taiwan. We can get up into our Koreas and stuff like that, but we have a whole southeastern border where Taiwan is being in Taiwan just makes sense for the United States. So, especially with the mountainous structure that they have there. But let's go ahead and get on with it. Now, what I want to cover here, I hope you guys have a pretty good update from the beginning. This first 15 minutes of this, 14, 15 minutes of this have been covering number 1 and 2. Hope everybody is up to speed. Quick, that was a very brief summary. Please go over 1 and 2. They're a lot more in depth. But I want to go ahead and start moving on now. All right. This document here is called the TPP from Taiwan's Vantage Point. Now, in this document, we're going to find many, interesting things. Now, what is very notable, and what we need to talk about is Taiwan is not in the TPP as of right now. but they're looking to get into the TPP. The U.S. definitely want them in there. So they'll be there. I'm very sure that they'll be there. Now, them getting there is not going to come without incident, because, like I just said, China has a problem with this. So let me actually hold on. Let me find this part here for you. Let's see here. All right, now what we're gonna, let me see. Okay, let's read this here. But in Taiwan's case, these members will likely face political repercussions and pressures from China. For instance, in response to Taiwan considering Malaysia as a potential FTA partner after signing ASTEP with Singapore, Chinese ambassador to Malaysia openly stated in 2014, China is against any move by Malaysia to sign a free trade agreement with Taiwan, as this is a government-level activity. Malaysia is one of the TPP's current negotiating members, and if it is pressured by China to veto Taiwan's application for accession into the second round of membership in negotiations, a single vote could deny Taiwan's entry into TPP. Do you see how important that one paragraph is? That's what's going on right now, okay? There's a tension that's forming where Chinese are trying to actively block Taiwan from forming any kind of free trade agreement, especially the TPP. Okay? Now, those aren't your only hurdles, and obstacles, but I mean, this is a pretty big one right here. When we talk about how advantageous Taiwan is to the U.S. in their negotiating angle and all the other angles that they have with that piece of land in the Asian region. So this is worth talking about. Let's go to page, I have page 16 marked down here. I have a few notes. So excuse me if I pause from time to time. Okay, here we go. Here's the admission, of Taiwan and the United States. Taiwan and the United States should both recognize that having Taiwan joining the TPP is a strategic imperative and interest for both countries. You understand? It is a strategic imperative and it's an interest for both countries. Of course, the economy of Taiwan would greatly benefit, and of course, the U.S. will be able to do what they want to do. Now, this is what the U.S. wants to do. Let me just show you what Taiwan is signing up for if they decide to be a part of the TPP. Okay, here we go. To join the TPP, Taiwan is expected to demonstrate resolve to the USTR, that's the United States Trade Representative, Office of the United States Trade Representative, by lifting the Taiwanese ban on pork imports with ractopamine. I'm sorry about that. Ractopamine. The ban was preceded by a temporary beef ban due to mad cow disease in the U.S., which was also considered another major trade barrier by the USTR. Japan and South Korea both encountered similar beef and pork market access challenges when they were seeking to commence TPP and U.S. South Korea FTA, Chorus FTA trade negotiations respectively. Taiwan should review Japanese and South Korean experiences with their respective pork and beef market access adjustments as it seeks to move forward with the TPP. So here, they're pretty much saying Taiwan needs to look and see what Japan and South Korea did as far as how they adjusted accepting ractopamine into the beef and pork products that come into the country from the United States. Up until now, there's about 160, I believe 160 countries that ban ractopamine. It's not something that you really want in your meat. Let's take a look at it. Ractopamine is a feed additive to promote leanness in animals raised for their meat. Pharmacologically, it is a beta adrenergic agonist. Don't ask me about all these technical terms. I don't know. I'm just going to read it out to you. Okay, it is the active ingredient in products known as Paline for swine and Optiflex for cattle, developed by Elanco Animal Health, a division of Eli Lilly and Company, for use in food animals for growth promotion. Growth promotion. Might as well just say steroids. Okay, ractopamine use has been banned in most countries, including the European Union, mainland China, and Russia, while 27 other countries such as Japan, the United States, Canada, and South Korea have deemed meat from livestock fed with ractopamine safe for human consumption. Commercial ractopamine is a mixture of all four possible stereoisomers. Bunch of big words, whole bunch of everything that half of us don't know what most of this is. Now you have to excuse me because I'm also very tired right now and I just got done doing a lot of work. But so excuse me if I'm fumbling over my reading. I promise you I have graduated high school and I do have a decent amount of college, so I can read. But when you have big words like this, come on, no one's perfect with these kind of words. So this is a lot right here. But what it's pretty much saying, if we just break it down to the basics, most of the world does not accept ractopamine, period, because of the nature of what it is and it's not safe for human consumption. The United States does. They openly promote it and they want Taiwan to also openly accept it, just like the Japanese and South Korea. Okay? So, with that being said, we have to think about what's in this ractopamine. And I'm sure that once we get down to it, it's nothing pretty. Anything that's meant to, be a growth hormone or growth promotion, and then we're ingesting that into our systems, I'm sure there's a pretty negative effect on that. So I'm going to leave a link down here also for some of the adverse effects, acute toxicity, and oh my goodness, look at this. The carcinogen effects, cardiovascular effects. So, it just has behavioral changes. Oh man, look at this. So if you're eating the meat in America, look at it. This is terrible. No wonder why the rest of the world doesn't want it. We shouldn't be eating it. But yet people go out and eat it every day and buy it from their grocery stores every day. We don't speak out about it because we'd rather be watching the presidential debates that are full of a bunch of garbage. But this is what's in our meat. So, U.S. is putting pressure on Taiwan to go ahead and, accept this ractopamine. The Japanese and the Southern Koreans have already done it, so they should do it too, as far as the U.S. is concerned. China is not playing, okay? China recently put out some propaganda, and I may have mentioned this in one or two, I'm not sure, but they recently put out some propaganda with their soldiers storming a mock-up of the presidential office in Taiwan. So, and it was a clear mock-up. You could tell it was propaganda. So it was meant to intimidate. It was meant to place a little bit of fear in the people, to let the people know in Taiwan that mainland China is not going to stand for any kind of unsanctioned government actions that are not on behalf of the mainland itself. That they will only allow that leash of Taiwan to go but so far. So it's going to be interesting to see what Taiwan does in relation to the TPP. It's going to be interesting to see what Malaysia does in relation to letting Taiwan into the TPP or blocking that. So we're going to learn a lot about those countries coming up in the next few years, and that's what we need to be talking about. So I want to actually go a little bit deeper now. This is going to go into something that I know, those of you out here who are in alternative media, you recognize what I'm showing you. Good old Deagle.com. Last year and maybe the year before, I forget, I think maybe it was last year this came out or something, but the projections for 2025. When these projections came out, the internet was on fire. I mean, there was, especially alternative media, they wanted to know what happened to the United States. Look at this. The United States, we suffered 80% loss. 80% loss, 80% population reduction from the point of me talking to you right now until 10 years from now. 80% reduction. That means 8 out of 10 people that you know will not be here. So, with that very drastic estimate by this website, a lot of people, the conspiracies came out. A lot of people wanted to know what is going on. Wait a second, hold up. We just lost 80% of our people. Well, what about the other countries? They lost, a few million people here and a few million people here. But other countries, you look at China, they actually grew 1%. They only gained 10%. Now, we know, in 10 years for you to gain 10% and you have over 1 billion people, they probably lost some people too, but their rate of growth is so high that they actually gained a little bit still because their rate of growth is pretty high. So it's almost 1.5 billion people. India, same thing, 9% growth. So these societies where the populations are over 1 billion people, they're experiencing growth. They just happen to be on the other side of the planet too. So you look at when you see what happens. I'm going to show you something about China in a second. It's going to shock you. All right, let's go down. So yeah, you see that 2025 we're going to lose 80% of people. The military budget is going to be pretty much stripped away. I mean, look at this. The military budget is only 1% of what it used to be. So it's 99% gone. 99% reduction in the military budget. What is this right here? This is our GDP. So it means we'll still be operational, but what will our GDP be? A 95% reduction. 80% of the people gone, 95% reduction in GDP, 99% reduction in military, and then our power purchasing parity is at an 83% reduction. Meaning, where we are today, we're pretty good. We're, 54.8 today, okay? So we have we're the world's leading currency right now, okay? The world's leading currency. Look, as a matter of fact, let's just use this as an example. If you look at where we are today at 54,800, look at where China is, 12,900, okay? That's today, the bottom number. Now, if you look at 2025, you'll see that that reduction is huge. It's 83%. And you'll notice that it goes down to 9,000. But if you look here, you'll notice that it only reduces about 3%. About 3%. Not too much of a dive. But just enough. Just enough. Okay? So, something happens in the United States, something drastic does happen by the year 2025 where things change. So, once this site came out, a lot of people went and said, okay, the conspiracy started. So, the people that have been doing this site for a while, they came out with a really long letter. But they could have easily said, oh, these are just our projections, blah, 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 this and that, and been done with it. But no, they actually went into a long explanation to try to justify their position, sort of, in a way. I'm not going to sit here and read all of this, but what I'm going to say is this. What this letter is pretty much saying is there's going to be a lot of changes economically, but one of the major things that it's saying is it's going to talk about migration patterns. Let's actually find that. Okay. The key element to understand the process that the USA will enter in the upcoming decade is migration. Do you see that, people? Migration. In the past, specifically, especially in the 20th century, the key factor that allowed the USA to rise to its colossus status was immigration, with the benefits of a demographic expansion supporting the credit expansion and the brain drain from the rest of the world benefiting the states. You understand what that's saying there? So we were able to experience everybody coming here, all the smartest and the brightest. They all wanted, to come to the United States so that they could build and live the American dream. And we took that from the rest of the world. And then on top of that, we had a big credit bubble. So you could come here, live the American dream, which is kind of, they polluted the American dream with the credit system, and live off of credit, run up debt, start businesses, let them close down, let them go bankrupt, just all kinds of immoral practices. And, and we drained the rest of the world in our quest to be the best. So there was a lot of migration, a lot of immigration that happened. And that's what's going to be happening in the upcoming decade, is migration. What do we see happening right now on the news? Don't we see a lot of migration happening? Don't we see borders being bombarded with thousands upon thousands of people? The whispers and the talk, is now in the air of Obama letting letting some of the refugees from over there come into the United States. So, and a lot of people are definitely suspicious, we'll say, based off of the fact of how they're exploiting the image of the dead child that was on the beach. So a lot of people, some people will say it's staged, some people will say, there's a lot of different explanations for it, but I know one thing is for certain. When I put up a video of gunshots that happened at the Virginia shooting of the reporter, and you didn't see any gun spatter, any kind of blood or anything like that, they took it off of my YouTube. And they even took the advertisement off of the one that I had, or I didn't really have advertisement on it, but they made it so that the advertisement wouldn't pay out, or that it doesn't show up, off of the one that I explained the Virginia shooting, and from the camera angle, the shooter's camera angle, and still didn't show the shooting itself. That still wasn't even eligible. But yet, when I turn on my TV shortly thereafter, there's a dead baby laying on the beach. There's some kind of confusion going on here in media as far as what's allowable. So a lot of people are suspecting that they're using the images of the child overseas, that was on the that had washed up on the beach, that drowned from the boat. Um, that they're using those images to fuel what the next step of migration is going to be into this country. I happen to believe that a lot of those people are absolutely correct. I believe that we're going to see a level of migration that we've never seen before. I believe that's why this time is meant for Trump to be here, because he's the one that's brought migration up. He's the one talking about it. He's the one that's been selected for this moment. I have more thoughts about that. You can see it in other videos. You'll probably hear a little bit more of it throughout this video. So we have a lot of migration that's going to happen. Now, another way that we're going to have that happen, I haven't even released this video yet, but I'll just say it now, is we're working with Mexico. It's not just going to happen. No one's just going to bombard our border and take everything over. Texas won't allow it, first of all. It's just not going to, you're not going to get through Texas with that. You just won't. So, at the end of the day, we're not really in any kind of threat, but if you have a global plan in place and you're a global government, what do? You create a threat. What do you also do? You also become the friend at the same time. So, though we know that Mexico is working with Russia and, other, people that the U.S. is not working with, we're also, quote unquote, not working with, we're also working with Mexico to develop the next stages of what's going to happen in the United States. I'm just going to put this out there, but last year there was a shipment of Hummers that went to Mexico. It went under the radar. Nobody noticed it. No one did a report on it. It was not talked about. It never went trending or anything. And I just didn't have time to do the report on it, but I saw it. And there was thousands of Hummers. Thousands of Hummers just sold to Mexico last year. And the purpose was supposed to be for border security. So we sold them to Mexico at dirt cheap prices. Dirt cheap. The amount that we spend to send Hummers, across seas to the Middle East, it costs so much more. So much more. We gave them to Mexico for next to nothing, for pennies on the dollar, you might as well say. So what are they preparing Mexico for? They don't need thousands of dollars for Hummers to patrol a border on their side that we already have on this side, especially when we could have just used those Hummers for our own people. Why would they sell Mexico thousands of Hummers? So I'll leave that in the air. Now, I want to get back to, I got a little bit off subject there, but, I want to say what I'm feeling about, a little bit about everything here. So let's keep going. Okay, so we see what's going to happen to the United States by 2025, and it's looking, pretty dismal. It does not look good. Now, this is what I want to show you that a lot of people miss. They were looking at the reduction, and the numbers and stuff like that. All of those aren't deaths, people. They're not all deaths. I'm sure something will happen and a lot of people will die. It'll probably be a world war or a natural disaster of sorts, but a lot of people will probably perish. What will also happen is a lot of people will move. Period. They're going to move. Now they say, well, Sen, where are they going to move to? It's the United States, and if all of this is going on and, the money is dropping and they're failing and, where are they going to move to? How are they going to maintain the same quality of life? Well, our elite know that they have to start getting out of this country, so they've already started doing that. A lot of them have started moving to other countries and, investing in properties in these areas and buying little houses and stuff so that they can just leave when it's time to go. Unfortunately, most of us that are deceived and because we're second in the world in ignorance don't understand that this reality is fast approaching. So most of us will not get a chance to leave the United States and will be stuck within these borders. It's stuck inside of the wall that Donald wants to build. So And yes, I said that Donald wants to build because he will probably be president. He's already been selected for you. So, with that being said, if we're stuck inside of the wall that Donald builds, and there's a great reduction in people, there's a great reduction in the military. We don't have any military at this point. 99% reduction. Come on, that means our military doesn't even exist in 2025. That's what it's saying. Our military technically doesn't exist. We can't fight anybody. Who are we going to fight with that kind of a military? We can't fight anybody. So, the elite will flee the borders. They don't want to be inside the borders. They will flee. They will go somewhere where they can rebuild, set up shop, and continue to be elite. The people that stay here will probably comprise of a few people that are monitored by a large military presence. So that's what this money will probably go towards, monitoring people to ensure that they're nicely tucked in their beds inside of their FEMA camps. But the elite are going to leave. Now, let's find out where they're going to go. Let's go to the power purchasing parity for 2025. There's a little country called Brunei Darussalam. Now, Brunei, excuse me, let me get some water. All right. Now, Brunei is going to lose about 23% of their power purchasing parity from here until 2025. But in 2025, they will be leading the world in their power purchasing parity in US dollars. Now, you say, I've never heard of Brunei Darussalam. What is this place? Where is this video going? Who are these people? Let me show you who they are. First of all, look at their military budget. It's going to go up only a little bit in that time frame. They're a peaceful nation. They're not at war. They don't want to be at war. This is how many people are there. It's under 1 million people. As a matter of fact, it's under 500,000 people. And it's only expected to grow by about 3%. So, with that being said, we know that a lot of, our elites aren't just going to go to Brunei. That's probably not going to happen, no. But what we do know is that the dollar in 2025 will be directly in control pretty much of Brunei. When you have this much control and power, let's find out where the United States ranks. Oh boy, look at that. United States isn't even on the first page of their own dollar. Isn't that sad? Oh boy, not even the second page. There we are. We're on the third page, number 78 in the world for our own dollar. On the third page, do you see all the countries that are ahead of us for our own dollar in 2025? While people were concerned about the amount of reduction, this is the economic impact. This is the power of the dollar during that time frame. So it's not saying that the dollar is going to go away. It's saying that it's going to be so weak that it's insignificant. While Brunei will comfortably thrive. Their population will grow, their GDP will grow, their military expenses will grow, their power purchasing power will drop a little bit, but it'll be unnoticeable because it will still be 3 times the size of Russia's in concerning American dollars. Now, why is all of this important? All of this is important is because we're putting the TPP in place for the global economy of tomorrow. That's what the TPP is all about. The US would like to have dominance. They would like to have dominance in the world tomorrow. It probably won't happen, but they would like to have dominance. And they would like to use that arrogance and, that of who we were yesterday and prop that up to who we are going to be tomorrow. It's not going to happen. If we look and see, I think that the U.S.'s power purchasing parity was somewhere at about 9,000. So this is roughly, Russia will be 3 times as strong as that, and Brunei will be 3 times as strong as Russia on purchasing American goods. That tells you a lot. Brunei will be able to purchase a lot from America. America will essentially become an exporter. Do you understand? Now, where we have benefited so long from other countries exporting to us and from us importing so many goods, and we lived high on the hog for many years with the great oil boom, with the credit bubble, our housing market, everything that we've done, our stock market, we've lived high on the hog. That's all going to go away. Now we're going to be living low. Yes, there's going to be more jobs, but there's going to be more jobs so that we can supply economies that have the power to buy our goods. Look at who's going to have the power to buy our goods. The power that we won't even have. Look. That's what this chart is telling you. That's what this list right here is telling you, okay? Now, who is Brunei? Here is Brunei. This is China. This is Taiwan. You have Vietnam right here, okay? Of course, you have your Koreas right here, Japan right there, the Philippines, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Malaysia, and here we go. Here's Brunei, right here. This little place on the map, this very tiny place, not significant, today, not significant to most people, but more significant than most people would even assume. And even today, I'm going to show you something about this little place. Let's just go in a little bit deeper just so you can see a little bit more. Alright. That's how small it is. Do you see that? That's how small it is. Sitting inside of Malaysia. Okay. Now, let's get rid of that right there. Here's the office of the USTR, United States Trade Representative. That office is particularly, that office is just pretty much the office that helps with the trade agreements around the world for the President of the United States. That's pretty much what it boils down to. Here, I just wanted to, I'm going to leave this link here for you below, but just to show Brunei and the United States are partners in the ongoing TPP. To explain what their roles are, to explain, what their imports, exports are, the trade balance. I'll leave that link there for you guys. Alright. This is also on the USTR website here. This is an update that was just done on September 4th. I didn't hear anybody talking about this. They're moving forward, aggressively with this TPP, and a lot of people have just fallen off of the subject matter, and it's something to stay on. Stay on it, stay on it, stay on it. One of the things they worked on is trade in goods, and here's, it says, at their recent ministerial meeting, negotiators made progress towards eliminating non-tariff barriers to U.S. exports, including permit and licensing barriers on agriculture and other products, restrictive administration of tariff rate quotas, unjustified trade restrictions that affect new U.S. technologies, including biotechnology and other trade restrictive measures. Do you understand that? So we're working very hard to try to get the other side to understand that we want them to take all of our stuff, no matter if they accept it, if it's banned around the world or not. We believe that it's just unjustified trade restrictions, and we want to include our biotechnology and everything else that we want to put into their communities. So I'll drop a link for this too. This is just an update from September 4th. More of the same rhetoric coming out. Now, this is who the Sultan is. This is who actually runs Brunei. His name is Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah. That's what he's called most of the time. His name is actually much longer than that. Let me see if I can pull that up for you real quick. Here it is. Full name. Sultan Haji Hassanal Bolkiah. On and on and on and on and on and on. It's a really long name. So that's his full name, but most of the time it just goes by Hassanal Bolkiah. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to call him the Sultan. Alright, the Sultan of Brunei is listed on the Forbes list as number 4 in the world as far as the richest men. That means liquid cash. He has about $20 billion on hand. They say that his oil fields were set to dry up in about 10 years. So that means in 10 years when his oil fields dry up, according to other projections, he'll also, around that time, have the purchasing power of about, 6 times that of the United States. So the purchasing power about 6 times that of the United States when his oil fields are to dry up in the next 10 years. I would say the reason of that is because of the TPP. Okay, so pay attention to this TPP and what it's doing. We're going into a post-oil society pretty soon. This oil bubble is going to burst, and the TPP and other trade agreements are creating the outline of tomorrow and where the chips are going to fall tomorrow, who the major players are going to be tomorrow. The Sultan is going to be in a very good position in 2025 when he can walk into the United States and the money that he has from his economy will be a lot more powerful than the US dollar itself. He can buy anything he wants in the next 10 years in the United States. And he has been investing here heavily for many, many years. We'll get into that later. Alright, I'll drop another link for this. Brunei's oil fuel economy running on empty. So they're talking about it now, and it's a little bit getting out there, but I don't think, honestly, these guys really have a whole lot to worry about. I believe, like I said, that's the reason for things like the TPP and things like that. They're not going to have to worry about these things. The resources are going to go to those who they deem necessary to use them, and there'll be a thinning out of the population anyway. So these resources, that of how they're projecting them to last for now, they're projecting them to last 10 years based on the people we have today. But the way that they're going to use them for the future is going to be for the people that can afford them, and also for the people that pretty much can afford them. It's going to be based on a class system. Alright, a little bit of information about him. Hassanal Bolkiah, he is the Sultan, Brunei. He's a Sunni Islam. Okay, that's his religion, Sunni Islam. So a lot of folks may not know what Sunni Islam is, and that's okay. I'm going to drop a link in here for Sunni Islam. But Sunni Islam is a denomination of Islam which holds that the Islamic prophet Muhammad's proper successor as caliph was his father-in-law Abu Bakr. I don't know. Sunni Islam primarily, I'm sorry for any Muslim people that are watching this, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just not into Islam. Sunni Islam primarily contrasts with Shia Islam, which holds that Muhammad's son-in-law and cousin, that name, not that other name, was his proper successor. So you have the Sunnis, and you have the Shias. You have two different kinds of Islam. This guy, for his country, for Brunei, the whole country is Sunni. Okay? Now, this is an interesting fella, to say the least, because you never see him on American TV. He's never talked about. Not many people mention him. He's, you know, if you know who he is, you've probably read one article or two about him, if you know who he is. The majority of you, I'm willing to put money on it, don't know who this guy is. He's a very, very wealthy, powerful man. Now, for that very wealthy, powerful man, this is his wife. The only thing with this situation that just drove me a little bit crazy was reading this. If we go down to his family, marriage and family, there she is. The Sultan married his first cousin and third wife. Okay. So, you know, he marries into his own family. Now, I understand what some of you may say, well, that's their culture, that's their belief. Yeah, it's still wild. It's just wild to me. Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to marry into your family. It's just me. But, whatever. Let me see. The Sultan and Celia, I believe her name is. Yes, the Sultan and Celia are first cousins. The Sultan's late mother and the Sultana's late father were siblings. So, Sultan's mom and his wife's father, you know, were actual brother and sister. So, you know, that's a little, you know, it's a little odd. It's just a little bit odd. So, but that's what they do, you know, in their culture, I guess, in their society, and that's what's acceptable. So that's who he's taken as his wife. He has, I think, a few kids by her in particular. He has a couple other wives that he's had, and he has kids by them as well. So this man is, he has a very big family, a lot of kids, few wives, a couple, you know, he's divorced a couple of them, openly and publicly. All right, let's move on. Now, even though the country of Brunei is a peaceful country, I just have to put it out there. I think it's quite odd that in the peaceful country of Brunei, you know, would it be in a Sunni country that if we look in the Middle East right now, 4 Sunni groups were responsible for 66% of all terror fatalities in 2013. In order of deadliness, they were the Taliban in Afghanistan, Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan, affiliate in neighboring Pakistan, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Boko Haram. All Sunni groups. So, Brunei is in Asia, you know, on the southeastern side of Asia, and they're completely peaceful. They're not at war. They don't even have a military budget like that. And they're completely peaceful. Yet, in the Middle East, we have all of these extremist groups. I think that's just very, 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 very interesting. All right. Now, this is how, you know, this man lives in decadence. So, let's just go down to let you see what his house is. This is his house. Now, mind you, there's government offices in here as well, but this is the man's house. Okay? It's the largest palace in the world. So I'm sure the Vatican is looking at this like, wow. But this is the largest in the world. You think you would hear more about this Muslim palace in Brunei, that's the largest, most opulent palace in the world, you know, owned by one of the richest people in the world, but you hear nothing about it. Nothing about it. And why is that? For a man that's about to lead, as far as being the leader of U.S. money, this is a man that's at the forefront. This is a man who I'm sure has a little bit of knowledge of what's going to be happening in the next 10 years. I'm sure he's not going to wake up in 2025 and say, oh, wow, look at this. I can't believe this. Our money is, 6 times more powerful than the United States money. All right, I just wanted to bring this image up real quick. The palace has its own mosque where more than 1,500 worshipers can accommodate at one time. It has its own mosque where you can seat 1,500 people. Excuse me. That should tell you everything you need to know. Alright, we're getting a little bit further into here. But here goes some more images, just so you guys could get a few more images. And I'll drop all of these links below of the Sultan's palace. And, he owns 5,000 cars, and he has 17 floors or more underground and all this kind of crazy stuff in this place. So this guy has a compound. Excuse me. I'm telling you now that what you see, that's a compound. It's not a house. It has like 200 and something rooms in it, I believe, or maybe more than that. I think maybe it's 200 and something bathrooms. So that lets you know how massive this thing is. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. That's probably part of his garage right there. Or probably one of the garages. I'm sure he probably has a couple garages. So, gold tiles on the floor, pure gold tiles. So this guy is going to be leading in 2025, and that's who he is. That's Hassanul Bolkiah. Now let's take a look at this. In parts 1 and part 2, I talked about Israel, and there's something going on. There's of course an LGBT move going on across the whole world. So, with that being said, a lot of people look at the United States as being the lead of that, and yes, we are leading that move. Quite frankly, just to be honest with you, we're leading that. That was a promise that Obama made to the LGBT community as soon as he came into office, is that he would be the biggest champion for them. And that's, you can look that up on YouTube. That's already out there in a video. So I look at what's going on around the world as far as, sticking to your religion and, just sticking to your religion and living the life that you've always lived. And I have many LGBT friends, so don't try to paint a target on me. You people that get too sensitive about this kind of stuff, just stop with that crap right now. I'll tell you right now. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm going to mean it. And it's not going to be hateful or any of that other kind of garbage. But we see an effort around the world to not just promote that it's okay to be LGBT, but that it's not even okay to talk about not liking it. That it's not okay to say, hey, you know what? That doesn't meet my moral obligations as far as according to my beliefs. But hey, go ahead, you do you. You go ahead and be the person that you are. Still love you the same, and everybody has sin. That's your sin. My sin's different. I cuss everybody out. I smoke. I drink. So I'm not going to judge you. Instead of us being like that, and instead of that being allowed and being okay, we're at a point now where it's literally being promoted. It's being put throughout the schools. A lot of people have been misled, and I'm going to show you something that's very funny. I'm not saying that this is what Christians should do, and please don't do this, Christians. But I am saying this one thing. Christians always say, stand with Israel, stand with Israel, stand with Israel. All the while, what's being happening is the church and God's natural foundation, because God is a God of systems. His natural foundation, his natural system of reproduction has been ripped apart. It's been ripped apart by abortion laws and by people changing their mind about that. It's also been ripped apart by the fact that a man and a man can't have a baby naturally under the provision of God, and a woman can't have a baby naturally under the provisions of God. So you have these things that have been ripped from their core principles that have been a part of Christianity for quite some time, that have been a part of godly principles and godly reproduction for quite some time. It's the way that the rest of the animals throughout the world reproduce as well. Okay? So you have that happening. Now, you have, like I said, these Christians that say, oh, well, stand with Israel, stand with Israel. A lot of folks don't know that. Let's read this here. Recent polls have indicated that a majority of Israelis support same-sex marriage, despite some social conservatism. Tel Aviv has frequently been referred to by publishers as one of the most gay-friendly cities in the world, famous for its annual Pride Parade and Gay Beach, earning it the nickname the Gay Capital of the Middle East by Out Magazine. Israel is the gay capital of the Middle East. Read that again, Christians. Israel is the gay capital of the Middle East. So not only are they the gay capital of the Middle East, but they also supply and work with China and Russia in offensive and defensive weapon capabilities. And they don't even do it behind the back of the U.S. It's just that the U.S. doesn't talk about it to its people. So what does that tell you about Israel? Doesn't tell you that, because people there are gay, that it's a bad country, don't go there. That's not true. There are many awesome gay people that I know that are just awesome people because they're awesome people. Like I said, your sexuality is your thing. That's your choice. But at the end of the day, once you talk about sexuality and then you talk about religion, well, now we have to put certain things in certain boxes. Certain things don't go in certain boxes. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when you talk about godly reproduction and you talk about God, and people always refer to Israel, people have this look of Israel that it's pure, it's perfect, it's this, it's that, Jerusalem. I understand. I get it, brothers and sisters. I do. I really do. I get you wanting to have that link and that connection. That's what Africans have been going through for years, trying to learn their history. So I get, wanting to know your spiritual history. But the way that it's being sold to you and the way that it's being given to you is a fraud. It's a fake. It's a front. It's what in religion what you would call an abomination. That's what you're being sold, an abomination. Now, if you go over to Brunei, LGBT rights in Brunei, it is exactly the opposite. Look at this. It is illegal in Brunei and can be punished up to death. On the 11th of March 2015, a civil servant was fined $1,000 Brunei dollars or 60 days imprisonment for cross-dressing under the Sharia penal code order. So These guys are literally, you can be, here it is, you can be stoned to death, excuse me, for practicing the same-sex sexual activity. Death. You can be killed for being gay in Brunei. Killed. You're not allowed to serve in the military. There's no recognition of the couples. Nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing. Nothing. Okay? So it is outlawed in Brunei. Now, I'll tell you this. You would say, hey, it's outlawed in Brunei. Man, they must be going through it over there. People must be getting killed left and right. I mean, it's just going down in Brunei. It must be terrible there. I will leave you this article. And once you read this article, you will see it is exactly the opposite. For example, there is no personal income tax in Brunei. The overwhelming bulk of the population works for the civil service. All medical care for Brunei citizens are free. Education is completely free, and almost everything else is subsidized. So yes, they may live in a society where it's hard to start a business. It's hard to do a lot of things that you may want to do that are progressive and that are against the royal family that's in place, against Hassan al-Bolkiah's family. But they have no income tax. Education is free. Everything else is subsidized. Gas is extremely cheap there because they have a lot of gas, a lot of oil. So the people of the country under Sharia law are absolutely happy. You have your small group of young people, you know, that are more rebellious and they want to get out a little bit more, have a little bit of fun and stuff like that. So what they normally tend to do is, I closed that down. On the map there, but what they normally tend to do is they cross the border into Malaysia, and they, you know, because Brunei is a place where it's non-alcoholic. There's also no alcohol in Brunei. So the young people, excuse me, let me get some water. The young people will cross the border and actually go into Malaysia. They'll get their alcohol, they'll get everything that they need, you know, as far as fun is considered, and, you know, breaking free of the kind of the strict lifestyle. And then they'll go back home because the living is good at home. So that tells you something about the kind of society that that this where's he at? That Hassan al-Bolkiah has set up. All right, now let's move along. Excuse me for the itchy throat on this one, guys. A little bit of a cold I think I'm coming down with, or allergies or something like that. Okay, now I've gone through most of the things with you now. It's important that you know this. The purpose of this video is not to predict the future or anything like that, and showing you Deagle.com is not to say, oh, I know what's going to happen and you don't. No, that's not to say any of those things. It's to get you to open up and to understand that there's more information that's being given to you, more information out there than what's being given to you on your news media. The news media is purposely dumbing down this country. Purposely. So we need to be very aware of that. We need to be alert, you know, as far as what we can do to get the proper information, and we need to go out there and get it. Okay? So it's very important that people that watch this, you don't believe everything that I'm saying. It's very important that you honestly, for yourself, go down into the link section where I leave all the links at, look through the information, find other information. So, you know, because there's more information out there. Don't just click on these links that I'm going to leave for you and say, oh, well, I checked out what he said, so it works. That's how a lot of information works. If somebody leaves links for you and you follow their story, then it works. So I'm not asking you to follow my story. I'm asking you to follow the links, find other links, and then try to see if my story supports, or this video supports my story. I promise you that it does, but I'd like for you to do it for yourself so you can have that worth of finding out what's happening next. I've been looking it up this whole time. So as a matter of fact, while I was actually putting this out, let me give a shout out to Lee Camp. Ban chemicals that are in your meat. New moment of clarity. He just put this out like probably an hour ago now, an hour and a half ago. And, I was one of the first people to look at it, like it, and actually comment on it too. And I told him, I was like, I swear, man, I'm just putting this out just now, talking about the TPP and this chemical ractopamine, that they're trying to put into the pork and beef and export into these countries. And he just came out with a video talking about ractopamine at the same time that I'm talking about it. So I just thought that was very interesting. People out here are doing the research. He didn't talk about the TPP or anything like that, or go that much into depth, but he just talked about what is actually in the meat. So I talk about what is in the meat and where we want to send it. We're trying to send this meat into other countries, and we want them to put down their barriers as far as not accepting our products. There's a reason they're not accepting our freaking products. I wouldn't accept our products either if I was them. Knowing what's in them, why feed your baby's growth hormones? That doesn't make sense, right? Alright, now let's move along. As I promised, there would be a little bit of Trump in here. So, we've talked about the AAN, we've talked about China, Taiwan, we've talked about the TPP, we've talked about Brunei, we've talked about the Sultan. Now we have to talk about Trump. Now, you would think that Donald Trump doesn't know the Sultan and never has done anything with the Sultan. Not true. This was back in December of 1994. And this is all over the Trump Plaza Hotel in New York. The Sultan wanted to actually bid some money there, about $300, $300 million for the hotel, for a share in the hotel, actually. Not for the whole hotel, but for a share in the hotel, because Donald Trump, he's always putting his name on stuff, but he only half owns it. So that's like the story of his life, even if sometimes it's not even half. So, he half owns it, or what he'll do is he'll own half of it. He'll, get the money, get the capital up, and buy out the rest of it. So that's what he does, is he'll own something, then he'll buy out, own half of it, and then buy out the person that owns the other half. And he'll keep eating and eating up that way. And that's how he's eating up a lot of properties that way. So the Sultan wanted to actually get in on this situation here, when Trump was back in a little bit of trouble with this hotel, as far as, the cost of it, money and stuff like that. So, he wanted to get in on it. Trump shut him out. Now, you would think that Trump would just shut him out in a way that, just shut him out. Nah, it's okay. I'm not interested or anything like that. But, he actually held a news conference. He no intention of selling his 51% of the, of his landmark hotel. It was his crown jewel. But, thereafter, he then changes his note in that they're kind of talking. So he says the Sultan of Brunei, his people have spoken to us. Various other people have spoken to us, and we may do some kind of partnership or something. So he ended up, admitting that, yeah, okay, well, now I'm acknowledging this guy, there's possibly we can work something out, some kind of a partnership with this guy. And, it never came to pass. It just never came to pass. About a year later, in 1995, Trump sold the hotel to another guy, I believe out of West Virginia or something like that. for just a slight amount more. Now, why wouldn't you give the hotel to the guy that's loaded with cash? He could just give you liquid cash. You could have even asked him for an extra $50 million, and he probably would have just said, you know what, I don't care, take it, little guy, and move on. That's what the Sultan would have said. Take it, move on, let me get my hotel. No, he sold it to somebody else, to one of his buddies, about a year later. But this just goes to show the Sultan's purchasing power. The Sultan has shown strong interest in America's grand hotels. A year ago, he agreed to buy the Helmsley Place for $204 million from Harry Helmsley and his wife, Leona, who was sent to prison in 1989 for tax evasion and mail fraud. The Sultan, who also owns the famed Beverly Hills Hotel, known for its distinctive pink color and celebrity clientele, a company owned by the Sultan, bought it in 1987 for more than $200 million. So he's just walking around buying hotels, and he's not, I'm sure he doesn't have to buy them with the power of the bank. No, the Sultan, he has liquid cash. He can just go buy the hotel, like going to a trip at Walmart, except if you want to buy hotels. So, by all means, this is an easy sell for Donald Trump, but not for Donald Trump. Let's go through some pictures. This is where it gets a little bit fun at the end, guys. I know it hasn't been, this video hasn't had a climax. It's just throwing a ton of information at you, but that's okay, because what we want to get to, let me see here, okay. What we want to get to is to the good stuff. Let's get to the pictures. First thing we want to open is Donald Trump's response to the Sultan merely wanting to buy the hotel. Here's his response. He organized a little protest at the plaza, okay? Without Donald, we walk. Look at the obviously created signs. Obviously paid for and created signs. And I'm sure that these people that don't look happy to be there did not create the signs that are behind them. And if you look at a gloating Trump, look at him. We want Donald Trump. We support America. We support America. Without Donald, we walk. What do you mean we support America? The American thing to do is to say, okay, if somebody wants to purchase something, you let them purchase it, because that's a part of the dream, especially if they have American-based companies. So, he completely takes this situation, politicizes it, and even though he speaks out against issues like Black Lives Matter and people that are, marching for legitimate civil rights reasons, not just for deaths of black bodies in the streets at the hands of police officers, but for legitimate civil rights reasons. The same reasons that Malcolm and Martin marched for, they got shot and killed, and all the marches pretty much stopped. So now that people are marching again, everybody has a negative opinion and trying to say this and that. I've already debunked that George Soros did not spend $33 million on Black Lives Matter. That video is on my channel. You have Donald Trump coming out saying that those people are going to have problems. Black Lives Matter is going to have problems because they're out in the streets and they're marching. Of course, they're infiltrated by FBI, CIA, a couple communist people. Every legitimate group that opposes the government is infiltrated. You better recognize and realize that if you have any kind of legitimacy with overturning the evil and wicked powers of the United States government, you will be infiltrated and you will be demonized. This puppet, Trump, he's nothing but more of the same. He's telling you that, oh, these people that are standing up for those rights, all these people with bachelors and, doctorates and masters and all these great degrees that are in DC and talking on these panel discussions and talking about Black Lives Matter and civil rights issues, oh, these people are problems. These people are problems. These people protesting. These guys are problems. But yet he has protesters protesting a guy that wants to just simply buy a hotel, buy into a hotel, a guy that wants to spend 300-400 million with you. And it doesn't stop. So he gets a model to come out. Look at this model. Look at these people standing around this model. Come on, man. Like, I'm not trying to say anything about these people, but these look like the typical Donald Trump supporters. I'm just going to be honest with you. You got a bunch of money guys standing around. You got a model, and then you got a bunch of guys that, they're just common guys. They just want to get a paycheck and go home. That's all. They don't really, that's the calling for their life of what they probably want to do. So you have people that make decisions, you have people that are yes men. These people are yes men. You understand what I'm saying? It's not over. Look. Minus this terrible outfit, that terrible jean jacket and this guy, but yeah, it's not over. Send Hassanal back to Brunei. We support America. We support America. Look at the model pose. Look at this. Come on, man. Can this be any more of a fake protest? Any more of a fake protest? So, we have a lot of things going on right now with Trump being at the forefront of a lot of conversation, a lot of topics. But what the real truth of the matter is that Trump is the only person that has his hand in every pot. His children are married into Israeli families. They're married into billionaire Israeli families, big billionaire families. China. Trump has a lot of business with China. There's even a video of Trump on YouTube now. It's about 3.5 minutes long or something like that, of how many times he just says China, 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 China. So you have Israel, you have China, and now we're linking Trump from the early 1990s, 1994, mid-1990s, I should say, 1994, about 21 years ago. Trump standing outside with his bootleg protests, with these people that have probably got paid a little bit of overtime. Here, hold these signs. We're going to go do a press conference the same way he did for announcing his presidency. Paid people to hold signs, paid supporters. It's not even called support. This is a job. If you get paid to do something, that's your job. So you really don't get paid for support. So these people are out here working for Trump and putting on this facade, for this guy to go back to Brunei. What does this have to do? A guy is offering you hundreds of millions of dollars to buy a hotel, a piece of property that he would like to have. Go back to Brunei. So that was Trump's stance, and here we go. We support America. That's Trump's stance on Muslim royalty. Am I saying that it's right? No. Am I saying that it's wrong? No. I'm saying it's Trump. I'm saying that it's Trump being contradictory and showing you what he's willing to do to get what he wants and to shape public perceptions, but how he'll demonize a whole group of other people, that are going for actual legitimate rights to get what they want. He'll demonize them, though. There's a problem with them. When this guy wants to spend a few $100 million with you, and there's a problem with the guy. Come on, man. This is stupid. It's idiocy. Trump is a freaking idiot. If you support Trump, I think I said it before in a post or something, you have the IQ of a potato. Do not support this man. Not if you support him, if you vote for him. If you support him, you still have a chance to change your mind and to do some research. I'll be posting a documentary that was suppressed, probably done 20 or so years ago about Trump, that was suppressed by his people and now it's just been released. I'll be posting out on my website and up on my YouTube soon, so stay tuned for that. Now, we're going to go through some more pictures here in a second, but I just want to show you here, if you go also to the page of the Plaza Hotel, the property that, the Sultan of Brunei wanted to actually get from Trump, from where Trump played him out and, sold it to his buddy, let me see, for $25 extra million. Here you go, in 1995, a year later, just like I said, to Troy Campbell. I said Virginia, West Virginia, but it's actually New Hampshire. So he sold it a year later for $25 million more to a guy in New Hampshire. Okay? Now, since then, it's changed many hands since then, but at the end of the day, just last year, here we go. A $4 billion price tag was placed on the Plaza stake. Speculation that the Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah of Brunei would be the buyer was quashed by the Sultan. The hotel is still owned by Sahara India Power. So, in 2014 now, the Sultan doesn't even want the property anymore. He was interested back 20 years ago. And he was blocked out of the deal. And then it was sold to somebody else. Trump played him out. Sold it to somebody else. Now we're talking 20 years later, and the Sultan is like, I don't want that. I don't need that now. I'm okay. So we have Trump. Trump's hands are in everything. They are in everything. Everything you can think of, Trump's hands are in it. Now, what I also want to go over here, if we go back to the pictures here, is you've listened to me do a lot of talking, okay? And let me just tell you this. None of this is really a conclusion to anything. It's giving you a direction. It's showing you that ISIS isn't necessarily our main threat unless you consider the migration patterns that are happening, and if Obama / Trump, because I believe he's next, if Obama or Trump, let these immigrants from the Middle East come into the country undocumented and come in by the thousands, then we'll probably have a couple small problems in cities because we'll probably have a couple terrorist, situations. Now, with that being said, ISIS is still not our main threat. It's not our main threat because they don't have any kind of weapons technology and advanced weapons capabilities like Israel, Russia, and China does. And Israel, Russia, and China, believe it or not, all have reasons to be upset with the United States. So that's the reason for the formulation of the BRICS community. That's what's going on there. They're using their own oil, they're using their own money, they're formulating their own new currency, and they're leaving the U.S. out. So by all means, the TPP is being created, but at the same time that it's being created, it's being undermined by those who are looking to benefit in the future, we'll say. So if we look at Brunei, they're in the TPP, but they're going to be number one as far as American dollars in 2025. Okay? Next is going to be Russia. We're going to be looking at a very different world tomorrow. The world of tomorrow is not going to be what you see today. And if you notice here, let's see if we can find China on this list. I believe China's probably on the second page. It's probably in the 12s. But if you notice, China's power purchase parity, let me see, here it is, China, 49. Their power purchase parity doesn't change much. It only drops 3% in 2025. I'm going to tell you why. China is going to probably be the first society to be able to effectively manage two economies. the US's economy and their own, as far as dealing with BRICS and Russia. And when I say manage, I do mean manage. I mean literally they will be managing our economy. Now why will that happen and how will that happen? My speculation, there will probably be a third world war, World War III. China will become the victor of that war. They will also, communism will rule the land, if you will. So we'll be back to a communistic regime. As far religious leaders and religious royalty will maintain certain governments, and they will also maintain certain religious controls over their populations of people. I believe that the Sultan of Brunei, Hassan al-Bolkiah, is going to be the Muslim leader as far as the Muslim population, as far as peace in the Muslim religion, as far as Islam is concerned. I believe that the Queen and the Pope and people like that are going to also be key leaders in 2025 as far as world power is concerned. I believe that China is going to be the economic will of the world, and everything will be ran from China, from Asia, from that land over there. It will not be ran from the United States of America, and the United States will not reserve its world status and its world currency status. I believe that responsibility will go to Russia and China. It'll convert over into their new currency. And on top of that, just like in the Holocaust, when Germany lost a lot of people, well, let me put it to you this way. When Germany had their Holocaust and they killed a lot of people, instead of a lot of the scientists and the high-thinking minds that were over there underneath Adolf Hitler, instead of those minds actually going to being sent to die or being sent to prison, they were instead brought. The majority of them were brought to the United States. Now, they formed different organizations, the Urban Birth League or Birth Control League and stuff like that, which morphed into Planned Parenthood. So these scientists and these Nazi Germany people got saved by the United States, were able to come into the country, all these great minds. Then they formulate a birth control system and turn it into Planned Parenthood, keep it around the poorest communities around the country. And they've effectively made the Nazi model never stopped. It actually kept going. Depopulation has always been a goal of the elitists, and they're now effectively doing it. Ractopamine is only another way of them to continue the depopulation agenda. So you started out with the meat. You keep it down to something that's going to make those cardiovascular diseases raise, and it's going to cause all kinds of problems for people. This is called depopulation. This is called population management, population control. Okay? We're watching that literally happen. You're seeing it happen. That's what all of this stands for. So just like Nazi Germany saved all of those people, not Nazi Germany, but we saved all of those people from Nazi Germany, China will save all of the intellectual people from America. You understand what I'm saying? They're going to take all of our people in. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, where the hell are we going to go when we get over there? If you haven't been paying attention, pay attention. China is opening up ghost cities. Let's go to my page. Actually, I think we can go up here. China has been opening up ghost cities. There you go. Chinese ghost cities, Russian workers. Okay? Just so you can see that these ghost cities have been being built for the last few decades. These ghost cities hold up to 1 million or more people. And there's multiple ghost cities all over China right now. Just standing there, just waiting to be filled. Multiple ghost cities. So my conclusion is, and my summary is, when this all goes down, those ghost cities that just happen to be modeled after famous cities across the world already, like Paris and things like that, those ghost cities will become the new home of the world's elite. It will become the new home of the world's elite because that continent will be the safest place to live. There's a reason for the reduction in America, and all of our reduction in America is not, for 2025, is not just due to economic impact and migration. No, some of this is due to death. People are not going to want to be in the United States of America. They're going to try to flee to wherever they can go to live. Okay? It's not going to be pretty. So, if we wrap all of this up, I appreciate you guys for staying with me for this hour and 40. It's been, a long time here, a lot of information. I know. This is not stuff that you're used to hearing because you're used to hearing about the Middle East and Sunnis and Shiites and the fight here and the fight there and who the FBI and CIA is funding and what Putin's saying. And I understand all of that. I actually know, I understand the full news narrative, just to be honest with you. I have to know it because I have to know how people are being lied to. But it's all misdirection. The real direction of what's going on, you need to start looking back at the TPP again. You got to start looking back at Brunei. You got to start looking at Taiwan. Taiwan's acceptance into the TPP is something that's potentially the biggest thing ever. If they get accepted into the TPP, expect that. Expect for Taiwan to be invaded by mainland China. Expect for the United States to respond. And that response, that very response right there, if China is bold enough to put this out, they're saying, we don't care, United States, we know you're in Taiwan, but that's still our land, and if we want to practice to invade the presidential capital, then that's what we're going to do. If they do that after Taiwan gets into the TPP, because they probably will, expect for the United States to respond. After the United States responds, expect for Russia to respond. Russia and China have not been practicing for nothing. So if Russia and China respond after the United States responds to the incident in Taiwan, Russia's response will be swift, and it will include 10 nuclear warheads at one time. They have a missile called Satan, I believe, or something like that, but it pretty much drops out of the sky and it has 10 separate missiles, separate nuclear warheads on it that go in different directions. You don't stop a missile like that. You can't effectively possibly stop all 10 of those. It's impossible, period. So, in the broader scope of things, I don't think it's going to look good for America. I see a couple things on the horizon that I believe to be true. I know there's about 20, 30 tabs that I just went through. It's a lot of information. If you take anything from all of this, let's get our heads out of the sand, concerning ISIS. We already understand who has funded ISIS. That's, again, been a doing of our government, funding radicals and rebels. Let's understand the TPP and how that's going to shape and mold our future and our children's future for tomorrow. Let's understand Israel's role and how Israel is not the shining star that everyone makes it out to be. Israel has been taken over, has been run over a long time ago. So let's start being honest about what Israel is doing out here in the world. The things that they're doing, it doesn't even go against the morality of the land that they possess. So, you have Muslims that are living more up to their religious code and their religious law than Christians have the balls to. Now that says something. It says a whole lot. Jesus wasn't no punk. Jesus was a man he was an activist. He stood up to the law. He said, no, I'm not listening to that. I'm not doing that. My Father in heaven is way more powerful than that. Y'all are silly. That was his basic teachings. Follow God's law, not man's law. It's easy to understand. Don't you understand why the government wants to take your freedom of thought? Your freedom of thought automatically wants you to conform to a higher purpose than government. The government doesn't want that. They want to change their little g into the big G. They want to become your God. They want you to follow their laws. Government is now becoming a religion. You're being indoctrinated. You're pledging your allegiance. Do you understand where this is going? These elitists are at a level of understanding that the average person that works 40 hours a week is not at. And we have to wake up and realize that we have to stop this mess. We have to create a better tomorrow. It's up to us. You're not going to hear the regular media talking about the Chinese army is preparing to invade Taiwan. You're not going to hear that. That's why it's important to get into independent media circles that you can trust, ones that are centered and focused, ones that have moral principles, also ones that tend to speak towards ideas of liberty, not treading on other people's rights. Liberty is what we're all about. I host a show, or help host a show on Liberty Movement Radio called Keeping It 100. So, and right now Liberty Movement has the people that organize and run that, Margaret Cecil and some of the other people that organize and run that, they're doing something good in America where they're waking Americans all over everywhere. They're waking them up, they're opening their eyes, and they're letting them see that liberty is the name of the game. That's something that the civil rights leaders did back in the day. Look up Stokely Carmichael. That's what he talked about, liberty. It should be liberty and justice for all. If you give me my liberty, that says, let me do what I do as long as I'm not, hurting you in any kind of way. Let me just live my kind of life if I'm not hurting you and impeding into your personal area. That's what this is about. That's what we're supposed to be living like. That's the American dream. And we've lost that. We've lost that the corporate interests that give us limited options and tell us that these are your options and this is how you should live your life, when we could really be living so much better. So we've put ourselves into a position that is hard to get out of. We're going to have to start from the bottom. We're going to have a lot of things to do to fix this. I say that we can fix it. I am hopeful that we can fix it. At least if we can't fix it, on a global scale, which I don't think we'll be able to do that, but I think we can fix it for the few of us that can last through this and actually still live and not have to take the brunt of what's going on out there. Some of the preppers are starting to catch on, but we can take it a step further than that. So that's all I'm going to leave you guys with for right now. I could keep talking. There is definitely more to talk about. But I believe that I've done, enough talking as far as now. There's a few questions that you should just ask yourself. You should, ask yourself about Taiwan, and let's start questioning about Taiwan and China and the TPP and the Taiwan Strait and, Malaysia blocking Taiwan from getting into the TPP. Let's start talking about these effects that they're going to have, global impact effects that they're going to have. Let's start talking about Brunei leading the dollar in 2025 and how that works out. Let's start talking about that. I promised you guys one other thing. Hold on. Let me get you guys hooked up here. I promised you some pictures. All right. Now, past these Trump pictures, we have some other pictures. Let's just say, if you want to figure out who these people are and whether I have any kind of legitimacy to what I'm saying, I'm going to show you how often the Sultan pops up and where he pops up at and what major players he pops up with. So you tell me in 2025 if he's going to be a major player or not. Now, I'll also tell you this as far as Trump is concerned. If it's not Trump, it's going to be Clinton. And it's going to be Clinton because Taiwan already has two ladies that are running for president. One of those ladies is going to win president. They're going to have their first woman president. The United States still hasn't had her first woman president yet. So we'll probably end up getting a woman president if Trump doesn't take this thing in a landslide. We'll end up getting a woman president. So I would say Clinton would be the backdrop to that. She's the only other candidate that has as much connection, affiliation, and support as Donald Trump also has business-wise around the world. All right, let's go through the pictures. Here's the Queen with none other than the Sultan of Brunei. There he is again. Carrie, Sultan. Obama, Sultan. Obama, Sultan again. Obama, Sultan again. Obama, Sultan again. Now here they just look like buddies hanging out. Maybe, I don't know, doing what, but hanging out. Here you go. The ASEAN Summit. Third in 2011, Obama, Sultan. This little man who's the fourth richest in the world shows up everywhere. Obama, Sultan. I don't have to say it. You understand? There's Merkel. Merkel, Sultan. Sultan and Obama, good times. Were good times. Here you go again. Obama, Sultan. Yes, and they do have on their little communist uniforms. Do you understand what's going on, people? Do you see what you're looking at? Okay. Clinton, Sultan. I just put that there because of this one. Putin, Sultan, Obama. This little man from this little country is much more powerful than you know. And you'll know in the next 10 years just how powerful he is. Queen, Sultan. Do you see the royalty? Muslim royalty right there. Right there in the middle. Do you understand what you're looking at? It's just an awful picture. The Queen. Obama, Sultan. So do you understand what I'm saying, folks? This thing is a lot deeper than what most people care to talk about. These people are walking around like bosses, controlling the land, controlling the people, controlling the media, controlling the buildings, controlling the governments, controlling the politicians, controlling everything with money. That money is the ultimate influence and control, and it has been working. It would only stop working once you make it stop. And we can only do that collectively. So we have to devise a plan. I'm actively working on something. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm not playing any games. I want to carry on the work of Malcolm, the work of Martin, and I want to do it for all people. We need better access to education. We need our community centers back. We need legal representation that's in our favor. We need to make sure that we have nonviolent protection services. You understand? So, and that means, yes, armed. We need these things for us as people because the powers that be are trying to take all of them away and replace them with immorality and, quite frankly, a future that's going to be filled with a lot of chaos and destruction. And they're all doing it in the face of lies. So you, your family, your children, you're at risk. You're at risk. And the threat is defined. The threat has been defined. If you think that the threat has not been defined, that's because you're not looking in the right direction. There are people out here right now working hard to create a global government that you will never, ever, ever be able to get from under. You're looking for justice now? Nah, there is no justice when they come and shoot your mother in the street because she didn't cross the street the correct way. There will be no justice and no asking for justice at that time. It'll be too late. Trump is next in the door. Can you imagine Trump in his little communist outfit? In his little Mao uniform? You understand what we're looking at, people? The time to wake up is now. If you do not wake up now, there will be no waking up tomorrow. Remember, unity is our challenge. Racism is our enemy, not each other. Unity is our challenge. Racism is our enemy, not each other. Let's come together. Hashtag ARM. Hashtag ARM. All rights matter. All rights matter. We have a right to this earth just as much as they do. But they don't want to see us live the same way. They want to sit in their little boxes and look down on us and not be happy with us. You understand what you're looking at here? Look at the eyes of this man. What did he see that he didn't like? What happened to whoever did something wrong? Look at this. These are not the eyes of leaders. These are the eyes of soulless people. People that are not like you and I. It's time to wake up, people. It's time to stop being sheeple. Don't allow these people to take everything from you. Don't allow it to happen. They will do it. They will do it if you allow them. This is Sincere with whoissincere.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm hoping that you enjoyed part 1, 2, and now 3. I've given you 4 hours out of my life. Tell me how you feel about all this information. We got information about Taiwan, information about the TPP, information about the drugs that they're putting in the meats, and the U.S. is trying to force into the exports of all these Asian countries. There's so much information that's jam-packed into this Army After Next series that I just put out, a 3-part series totaling 4 hours now. Please, please, please share this. Get it out to people. Get it out to the world. You know, I'm just an Army veteran trying my best. I'm trying my best to get this information out. I respect and I appreciate everyone that's helped me get it out this far. And all I ask is that we just continue to do this. We have to redirect people to start thinking right again. Start thinking on your own. And I'm hoping that this template, this is nothing more than a template. that this template will be enough for people to wake up. Follow me on Twitter at Sincere Speaks. Go to my website, www.whoissincere.com. Follow me on Facebook by typing in Who is Sincere to like my fan page. Send me an inbox on my website or on my Facebook, and we can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. Thanks a lot for viewing. Take care of yourself.